Thrilled to have here on the Rich Eisen Show in person is one of the great authors and best-selling authors around, and his new book, City on Fire, is available wherever you get your books. This is the first novel in an epic new crime saga, which this man knows all about writing, and he is Don Winslow here on the Rich Eisen Show. What a pleasure to see you, sir.
What a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're in the middle of a worldwide tour right now. Are you not?
It's crazy right now. I am. I think in the States it's 23 cities in 22 days. And then a little gasping spell, and then Europe. Yeah.
Well, you're here in Los Angeles, where we are.
Yep.
You just had an event with Michael Mann.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's get into this. I knew you'd sit up straight for that one.
Whoa.
That guy is a huge Heat fan over there, as many.
We talked a lot about Heat.
Okay,
yesterday.
so how do you know Michael Mann? How do you
through my agent and buddy Shane Salerno.
Okay.
Done a lot of things with Michael Mann, and then back in the day, Michael was interested in a book of mine, oddly enough called The Power of the Dog, not related to the current film.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I've known Michael a bit on and off. You know, we've had great conversations about the mob in Chicago. And so it was so much fun being with him yesterday.
I bet.
You know, I got him to talk about Heat a lot. I got him to tell the origin of his marriage. So it was a great time. He's a terrific guy.
Now, again, I know this is not your project, but I mean, you mentioned like Heat 2. Is there?
Yeah.
Are we getting another Heat here? Is that what's
You're getting
happening?
a book. You're getting a novel, Heat 2, that takes place before and after the action in Heat. So, you know, it describes a lot of the early years of those guys and then some of what happens afterwards. And Michael co-wrote it with Meg Gardner, who's a terrific
But
crime
you have
writer.
nothing to do with it.
I have nothing to do with it, just a friend of the court.
And a fan of...
And a fan of Heat and of Michael's and of Meg, so it's a beautiful combination.
Well, I follow you on Twitter, so I see how you're selling your book or promoting it, and who you're seeing. I saw a photograph of you with Jeff Daniels. So you've known him.
Known him for a while. Jeff helped us with some of the political videos that we did.
Right.
Narrated them.
Right.
So.
Liam Neeson, did you shout him out on your Twitter
I did.
account as well?
Liam is interested in doing a piece of mine. Bizarre, man, to turn on, your little Zoom thing on your laptop computer, right? And there's Liam freaking Neeson. Like that, say, hey, Don, how are you? I said, hello, Mr. Neeson, He said,
Right.
oh, no, it's Liam, and God, we ended up talking about a movie called Belfast quite a bit. And,
Sure, that's recently nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, and so, it's trippy.
What is it like to have a work of yours made into a film, Don? I mean, how does that go about?
It varies, Rich.
Yeah.
It
I know you've got history on things get made, don't get made, and things like that. So.
Most of them don't get made. I mean, the reality is, and you know the reality, that so many strings have to come together to get that made that they usually don't. But yeah, one of mine was made by Oliver Stone, a book called Savages. Shane and I wrote the screenplay, and there was another one called The Death and Life of Bobby Z, although Hollywood called it Bobby Z because Death and Life of was apparently too complicated.
Right.
That was made with, sadly, the late Paul Walker, who's another really good guy, and Olivia Wilde.
What was it dealing with Stone? I know that might be, and you started laughing, but what was that like with Oliver Stone?
Making a movie with Oliver Stone is everything you think it is, and a little more besides, and I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah. And then, so your material, is it out of your hands the minute that it's put into somebody else, or how does that work?
Well, look, I mean, it varies. What I really want is a seat at the table, right? Talk to me like a human being. I'm smart enough to know, and I've been around long enough to know that books and movies have different needs. They're two different breeds of cat.
Right.
So there are going to have to be changes made. But I want the changes justified. And look, sometimes these guys come up with better ideas. The people are doing a television series of these 3 big drug books I wrote.
Right.
And I read the scripts every draft and talked with the writers a lot. And at times he came up with ideas I wish I'd come up with for the books.
No kidding.
And I was a little jealous. I was a little irritated.
Right. Exactly. Sure. Right.
I should have thought of that. And other times they do maybe goofy things. You know, they go off on tangents, and you have to reel them in a little bit, you know, and say, hey, you know, I know you were enthused about that idea at the time, but I really thought it through.
Life of a writer, no question about it. Don Winslow here on The Rich Eisen Show. Do you, when you are writing a book like City on Fire, do you think, as you're writing it, a character, that this could be made into a film? Do you think that as you are writing?
No.
At all?
At all.
Not at all.
Listen, I don't want to be disingenuous. Everything I've ever written has been optioned for film or TV.
Right.
So I know that that's a probability.
Right.
But I have to forget about it. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, two bad things would happen, right? There's only two options. I'd write a bad film treatment or I'd write a bad novel, you know?
Sure.
And so I forget completely about the movies. I never think about actors. I never think about any of that. Just write my book.
And I know that you are, you know, have announced a retirement, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that here. But what is your process? I mean, how do you do this? I'm sure so many people are trying to pick your brain so they could have similar success that what you've had in your career, Don. But how do you go about
Rich, I'm afraid the answer is really boring, and it disappoints people, and it's going to disappoint you. I'm just letting...
Wow, what a wind-up.
Right?
Now here comes the pitch.
Here's the undersell.
Sure.
I work. I show up at my desk at 5:30 in the morning, and I leave at around 5:30 in the evening.
At home, or do you have an office that you go to?
Both. I have a little office. We rented an old gas station. I live in a very tiny town near San Diego, up in the mountains. We rented an old gas station. My wife has half of it for her stuff. I have half of it for mine. It's literally a minute walk from the house, you know, on a dirt road. So I work there. That's kind of it. I wish I had a more exciting answer. I've tried to think of one because I cheerfully lie about it, you know, but it's not. There's no substitute for time.
But so you don't, I mean, what does a writer's block look like for you? What does that sort of thing look like? Do you have it?
Never had it.
Damn, Don.
Never had it because,
Come on.
You know what I think a writer's block is really? I think it's trying to write perfectly on a first draft. And so you lock up, you get scared, right? Because it's not going perfectly, right? And so then people freak out and they seize up. Again, you know, I've written a couple of books now, right?
Yes, you have.
And so I kind of know, you know what I mean? If Tuesday morning doesn't go so great, Wednesday morning's probably going to be okay. You know, not to get nervous, not to get scared, and not to watch yourself writing. You can't sit on your own shoulder like Jiminy Cricket, you know, or a parrot and kind of comment on what you're doing. You got to stay inside of it, and sooner or later it'll break up.
Don Winslow here on The Rich Eisen Show. City on Fire is about the criminal empires, two of them together in all of New England, right? Based in Rhode Island, which is where you're from. Which is where you're from. How do you know so much about this sort of subject matter, Don? How do you
Grew
study?
up with it, Rich. You know, I was a kid during the era of the mob wars in New England. I wasn't in the mob. My family wasn't in the mob, but those guys were always around. They were always around. You saw them. You went to parties with them. You know, when I was a kid, that was the guy at the end of the block, keeping an eye on things. You know, every store you went into had vending machines because that was the mob's business. You know, I swear to God, doctors' offices had vending machines, you know, anybody. And so these characters were so familiar to me. You know, it really was kind of a homecoming writing this book.
And again, that's where all books are available right now. I've got Don Winslow here on The Rich Eisen Show. What's your favorite sports story? Book, movie? What do you think? What do you got for me on that front that you love us? It could be either any book that you've read or a movie that was made out of a book.
I love Bull Durham.
Okay.
Love Bull Durham because it's a sports story without a climactic game.
That's true. That's an interesting,
you know,
way to look at it.
It just sort of fades out,
right,
in a really realistic and I think beautiful way. You know, and it's funny and it's sharp, and I love baseball. You know, Miracle.
The thing that's amazing about Miracle, you're already shaking your head because you love it too, Chris. The thing that we love about Miracle is I'm on the edge of my seat, and I know we beat the Russians.
It's like Apollo 13.
That's another perfect way to look at it, Don.
You know, absolutely. They make it, and you're still like so tense.
Yes.
And the night that we beat the Russians in that game is still one of the best nights of my life.
Where were you?
I was in New York City managing movie theaters, and I would leave the theater and go around to a little deli stand where they had a TV set about this big, in black and white, and just, stand there and watch it. I will confess this now for the first time ever.
Okay, Don Winslow.
Okay, committed a crime. When they won the game, to celebrate, I let people into the movie free.
Which movie was it? Do you remember which movie it was?
I'm not saying in case they sue me now for the lost funds. I want to say it was The Great Train Robbery with Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, The Great Train
And you know
Robbery.
what? We were running the Great Train Robbery. You didn't ask me this, but I've had a lot of caffeine. I went out to check the line as one did, right? Because the owner would make people stand out on line to pretend it was a successful movie, whatever the movie was.
Yes.
Winter's day, snowing, cold New York damp. I walk out on the line. Sean Connery is standing on the line with his wife.
Come on.
True.
To see The Great Train Robbery.
His own film, to buy a ticket. I mean, that's a gentleman.
To spike up the gross, the
no,
box office?
I think he wanted to see the film. He wanted his wife to see the film on the big screen, but he was not going to come in and say, "I'm Sean Connery," as if that's not obvious. Let me in. He was standing in line with everybody else to buy a ticket.
Plus, he could probably care less about the semifinal for the Miracle on Ice at that point.
Well, it wasn't the same day. It was the same film, but not the same day.
I see what you're saying.
So I said,
I thought it was literally the day that you went that you were letting people in, yet you let Sean Connery in for free too. No. Which, by the way, I would have done any day of the week as well.
Well, I did. I got him off the line.
Well done.
Yeah, of course.
You're smart to do that. Yeah. I remember that day too because we were trying to avoid finding out what the final score was by not turning on the radio.
Right.
Because the game was played in the afternoon and then not aired on ABC till later that night.
I remember.
And we would never be able to pull that off today.
No,
at all.
You couldn't. Yeah.
It would literally be like, did you see it? You'd see the video of 15 different plays.
Exactly. 28 people texting you about it.
And then, of course, everybody's saying Al Michaels made up that miracle line, and talking and immediately saying how much he's, making this stuff up. And that's the day and age we live in. But, I mean, that Miracle is a great movie. My favorite sports movie of all time is Hoosiers.
Great film.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
And we had David Onsma on the show.
Oh, you did?
We did. Yeah. And I'm a Michigan guy, so I dislike Rudy as well, which is why they're laughing. They know where I'm going with this already. I can't stand Rudy because I'm a Michigan guy. Anything that makes anything Notre Dame like hagiographic, I find distasteful.
Exactly.
So David Onspa, I've told him about that, how much I dislike Rudy. He came on this show and told me that Rudy was like a Ken Burns documentary compared to Hoosiers, totally made up, with the exception of the idea that this school from Indiana won a championship, and that they sent, and you're a perfect person to say this to. They sent Angelo Pizzo he sent him to the town, because he was the writer.
Right,
sent him to the town to go see what story could be made out of this idea that a small Indiana high school could win state.
Right.
And he said he got a call back from Angelo saying, "We got nothing. This place is boring. The story is boring. There's nothing." And they made everything up, from the Gene Hackman character to the Dennis Hopper character to Dentine, smelling the gum.
Yeah.
Made it up out of whole cloth.
Made it up. Would a screenwriter really make something up? I'm incredulous.
Yeah, no, I know that. You're shocked to hear this gambling going on in Casablanca.
Yeah.
But it's just, but I guess that's the whole idea of just trying to make a story out of something that's real, based on something.
Right. Yeah. You've destroyed all my illusions. But how can you not like anything with Gene Hackman?
He's one of the greats of all time, right? Did you ever come across his path in any way, shape, or form?
But French Connection changed my life. I was a young teenager and went into a movie theater in New York and saw French Connection. And I thought, man, if I could tell stories like that someday, right, that would be the perfect life.
Well, and you're doing exactly that, sir. Don Winslow, get City on Fire. What do you say to all your fans who are upset that you're retiring? What do you say to that?
That Don? It's time, I mean, listen, this is a great project to go out on. The reviews immodestly have blown me away. You know, I've been so thrilled with the reaction. There'll be a second book and a third book. You know, the second book will come out exactly a year from now, the third book a year from that. So to my fans, I say, there are 2 more books coming. But I think without getting heavy about it, there's another fight to fight right now. And I want my time and energies to go more into that fight.
And that's the political arena that you're talking about.
Yeah, I think, our democracy is at a, existential point. But to get back to this, this is, I wrote the first sentence of this book 27 years ago.
Get out of here.
Yeah, this has been the work of my life. I've come back to it when I've had a chance, and so it's a very personal book to me. It's an important book to me. I'm thrilled with the reaction, so this is a good book to go out on, these 3 books.
Well, congratulations on that. At Don Winslow on Twitter. I follow him. You should as well. At Don Winslow Films on Instagram. And you will be seeing a lot of his work over the next several months and years on the political front. And then, of course, City on Fire, a novel that is already on fire in its own right. Get it where all books are acquired. Don, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. A lot of fun.
You bet. Right here, Don Winslow on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.